Good morning. I'm Mark Kimball, Chair of the Citizens Clean Elections Commission. It's 10 a.m. on January 29th, 2026. I call this meeting of the Citizens Clean Elections Commission to order. With that, we'll take attendance. Commissioners, please identify yourselves for the record.
Christina Werther.
Galen Payton.
Sam Crump.
Good morning, Steve Titler, present.
Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning. We have all five commissioners with us this morning. Item 2, discussion and possible action on the meeting minutes for two meetings, December 11th, 2025 and December 22nd, 2025. Do any of the commissioners have comments or questions on the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve both of those sets of minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the meeting minutes for December 11th and December 22nd, 2025.
Thank you, Commissioner Werther. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Payton. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes for December 11th, 2025 and December 22nd, 2025. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Werther.
Aye.
Commissioner Payton.
Aye.
Commissioner Crump.
Aye.
Commissioner Titla.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The meeting minutes are approved 5-0. Item 3 is Executive Director's Report, including enforcement and regulatory updates and the legislative update. Tom?
Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to highlight a couple of items. First, on the election calendar, with local elections coming up on March 10th. The city of Tempe, for example, has 3 council seats, and then in Pima County has propositions 418 and 419. So voter registration deadline for that election is February 9th, and the ballots go out on February 11th. The 2 that I mentioned are both mail. I think they're all mail elections. On voter education outreach, we have a few things I wanted to mention. And you can see one of the many great photos we have from the inaugural Civics Matters Summit, which was sponsored by the Arizona Cardinals. And Avery and Gina and Captain Activate and were there. Alec, were you there? No. Out at the Cardinal Stadium, and there were thousands of high school students there, and we had a table and Avery and Gina got to present to the students there about different civic opportunities. I also understand there was an election for the most popular mascot, and we finished 3rd, and I guess Sparky finished 1st. The Cardinals mascot finished 2nd, and we finished 3rd. So we beat the Wildcats and the Lumberjacks. So,
well, I'll point out it was held up here, so it was obviously not an impartial election.
no. And then we have, and then this weekend is Tempe FanCon, where and Avery will be there. We've had 11 participating candidate workshops. I wanted to highlight we're working on a couple of projects with ASU that I'm hoping to finalize. The first one is a project with the Center for Independent and Sustainable Democracy around doing some focus groups on Gen Z voters. We've worked with this part of ASU before, and we think that will be something that will give us some good insights, as we, through Captain Activate, the curriculum and other things that we're doing, we're trying to, identify ways that we can better communicate with younger voters. I read a thing the other day that said that pointed out that if you are 20 years old, right, just like, so I'm older than that, right? So from the first presidential election I could vote in until for 20 years, there was a Clinton on the ballot. And now if you're 20, there has been, President Trump has been on the ballot that whole time. So that's a real, that's a big generational shift, that window. So those kinds of things, I think, make this kind of make this valuable. The other thing we are, and I mentioned this last year, we've been working with the Mechanics of Democracy Lab at ASU, which is run by Bill Gates, who's the former Maricopa County Supervisor, and they're going to be hosting the Election Science Reform and Administration Conference this summer, May actually, and or June, early June rather, and that that's the biggest sort of academic conference on election matters in the country, and so we were working on finalizing what we would do there, but the idea that former Supervisor Gates had, which I thought was a great idea, would be to have a live commission meeting at the conference, which I think would give an opportunity for us to do. And Paula's going to have a heart attack. It was in the report, Paula. And I think the value there would be, one of the things that in talking to ASU about this and talking, would be to try to bring in, not to make it less academic in the sense of trying to bring in more folks who, whether they're, election administrators, election officials, and attorneys and the whole community around elections to, the conference. So we're working on that, but I think it would be an opportunity for us to, potentially have some testimony around election administration and some of the things that we're doing there. So I'm excited about that. We're working on that. I needed to note, on the legal front, we're still awaiting two pending appellate court decisions on Prop 211. The Ninth Circuit argument we had in May, and that's still waiting. And then we had the second Arizona Supreme Court argument in September, and that's still waiting. In the meantime, we had a oral argument at the Superior Court in the legislative leadership's case against the Prop 211 Act, and so I think that I think that argument went well. It's a little hard to predict, but what we'll be doing, both sides will be submitting proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law, and then we'll the major ask there. The major topic there is the legislature's motion for a preliminary injunction, and they seek to enjoin all of Prop 211. In the first round through the courts on this, they were unsuccessful in securing an injunction at all, and then at the Court of Appeals, they had they were not able to convince the Court of Appeals to reverse that or enjoin the entire act. The Court of Appeals opinion was vacated by the Supreme Court, so we're sort of back to square one. But again, I think that our position is, with the attorneys, is really focused on, you can resolve the legislature's claim on statutory construction bases. Essentially, you have to read the statute in a way that's pretty at odds with typical way you read statutes to get to where they want to get. But even if you do that, it's still severable. Before I wrap up, and certainly I'm available for questions, I did want to make a quick note. I saw, I think it was on LinkedIn, that Paula is this month, I think, celebrating 34 years with the state and 26 years with the commission. So what you're going to hear there, both in this report in terms of the stuff we're talking about, and then later on with respect to the voter education plan, I felt like it was important to recognize that, and say that, Paula has been central and is central to keeping the infrastructure that keeps all of this going, whether that's, the purchase orders that get implemented, the procurement evaluations that she participates in, dealing with the voter education guide, these are very time intensive and detailed projects, and they're a little invisible, but they are crucial to allowing us to deliver on the commission mission. So I wanted to, I felt like it was a good time to highlight Paula's work there because it's we're really demanding a lot of her right now in any event. So, but that sort of completes my report. If you have any questions for me.
Congratulations, Paula. I see that there's a number of complaints here
Yeah.
that I don't know anything about. Are these things we're going to discuss in upcoming meetings?
The yeah, so we keep a running sort of tab on the complaints in the ED report. The procedurally, I think I can say that everything that we haven't brought to you for a decision is somewhere in a administrative process. What we do with and to some extent so that's what they are. So we keep this running list on the report every month in order to make you aware of what the docket is. The list ebbs and flows as cases come and go. The Jaramillo matter is on this agenda. The status of the Timberlake matter, I think I can say that we will have I have to make an administrative determination about when and what to bring to the commission, and I have to make sure that the respondent is aware of any conversations. I have to keep them apprised of our interactions around this. So I would just say that that's in the process, and then these other two are Prop 211 complaints. I think I can say, but that so. If you're interested in having copies of the complaints, for example, which we don't generally provide until we agendize them, we can work with Craig to get those to you in a appropriate venue.
Okay, thank you. Do any members of the commission have questions or comments from Tom on the executive director's report?
Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Titla.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Paula for being with the Clean Elections for so long. She's an integral, invaluable member of the team. I know that for all the time that I have been on the commission, she's always done excellent work working with the team and with Thomas and everybody else. So I'd like to thank her and congratulate her for all the good work she's done throughout the years. Second, Thomas, with respect to the litigation, the Ninth Circuit case, was it before the full panel or was it just a three-judge panel on the arguments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Titla, it was a three-judge panel. It was Judge Rawlinson and Judge Bumate, and then there was a third judge who I can't name escapes me at the moment.
Yeah, we were in the Ninth Circuit arguments also a few weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago, I think, or maybe a month ago, there in downtown Phoenix at the White Glass House Federal Court building in the big courtroom. And we were before a three-judge panel, so we're waiting upon decision on that. On a third item, recently they had the Tribal State Legislative Day a couple of weeks ago there in the state capitol. And it is a day designed for tribal leaders and state legislatures on the Senate and the legislative House side to get together and talk and just commingle and discuss issues. So I know, Thomas, you've been there before. I
Yes.
was chairman of the commission a few years back when we still had the office across the street there.
Yes.
And I know that you were there. And as you know, as chairman of the commission, that I advocated that we reach out to the 22 tribes in the state, reach out to the four corners of the state and try to include them in the Clean Elections Commission's mandate by the citizens, because we are as tribes, we are citizens also, and there are 22 tribes out there. And so it is my fault, but I wish I could have told you that it might have been a good idea to come out there and have a booth there, because there were numerous booths out there from every aspect of Arizona business and government and federal government and everything else. So it was, when I was there is when I thought about it. But maybe for next year, if you all can make it, I think it'd be a good idea to maybe get a booth out there and have all the information that we can, because there were many tribes there and many Native American people there commingling and having lunch and talking and meeting with senators and legislators. So I just wanted to give you out that we need to continue to reach out to the tribes in the state, because they are a integral part of the politics in the state of Arizona, and they want to be included more in the political process of the state, because I think that they have a lot to contribute to the state. One example I'd like to point out is that we went to Proposition 202 vote back in 2002, I think. And the tribes tried to negotiate a gaming compact with the state of Arizona, and the legislature would not sign, although the governor at the time was with us. And finally, the tribes just went to a proposition and put a ballot on the vote. And the tribes won that ballot, although very narrow margin. I think we won by 20,000 votes, over 1 million votes in that case. But we were still able to win that vote with the help of many citizens in the state of Arizona, along with the governor. The governor supported us, and I remember the sheriff at the time. I can't remember his name, but he was a famous kind of sheriff in the nation. He's the one that had instituted pink underwear. Maybe you guys remember the guy, but I can't remember his name right now. But he supported us also and made commercials for us. So I just want to continue to advocate for Native Americans in the state of Arizona. I think that's very important that we reach out to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Tilla. Very, very important points you make. Any other member of the commission have any comments or questions on Tom's executive director's report? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 4, discussion and possible action on penalties in MUR 25-01 involving Hector Jaramillo, a 2024 candidate for the legislature. Commissioners, you have the staff materials. I'll give the executive director an opportunity to present his recommendation. We will also have time for Mr. Jaramillo if he is here, or his representative. And Craig is available as our independent advisor if we have questions. Tom?
Thank you, commissioners. I want to be brief. I think this is, there are several procedural steps here, so I think you all are probably pretty familiar with this matter. It involves a participating candidate who failed to file timely reports that were required, and then failed to comply with audit obligations under the Act. The proposed order, I think, recognizes that these aren't technicalities. These are substantial accountability mechanisms that make the public financing program credible. They also make the the overall disclosure and anti-corruption purposes of the entire campaign finance scheme credible. And then and the order reflects that seriousness. It does, I think, identify the formal findings, and it does recommend, or I recommend, the civil penalty that is included there. It also advises Mr. Jaramillo of his appeal rights. The other, obviously, the other aspect of this is simply how you deal with the monetary penalty. And this, what I sought to do in the proposed order is to have a penalty that demonstrated some consistency and proportionality and defensibility, but also protect the integrity of the program. So with that, I'd answer your questions about the proposed order.
Just for the record, Tom, have you discussed the proposed penalties with Mr. Aramillo, and is he have any reaction to that?
I have not had a substantial conversation with Mr. Jaramillo, in some time. We have exchanged emails. I was hopeful we would schedule something this week. That I offered times, and then after, but I never got any response. My own thing. I think that in that email exchange, I was clear that we were moving forward with the next step in this after our December after the probable cause determination in December. This is the next step in the process. So, so the answer is no. This is not a conciliation. This is an order, and so beyond that, I mean, he has, in my view, appropriate notice for this hearing, and beyond that, I guess I really don't have much I can add.
Thank you. Do any members of the commission have any questions or comments?
Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Titla.
Yeah, Thomas, did the other party have notice of the this meeting today?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Titla, yes. Mr. Jaramillo has had notice. He had notice in a couple of different ways, but he has had both formal and informal notice of both the date of the hearing and the order and the proposed penalty.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from members of the commission? For the record, Mr. Aramillo was invited to this meeting, and as near as I can tell, I don't see either him or a representative for him either in our room or on Zoom. If there is any member of anyone who's representing Mr. Jaramillo, please speak up at this time. And I don't see anyone. If there are no more questions, does any member of the commission wish to make a motion regarding penalties in MUR 25-01?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the order assessing the penalties in MUR 25-01 against Hector Aramillo.
Thank you, Commissioner Werther. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Payton. It's been moved and seconded that the penalties in MUR 25-01 be imposed as recommended by the Executive Director. I will call the roll. Commissioner Werther?
Aye.
Commissioner Payton?
Aye.
Commissioner Crump?
Aye.
Commissioner Titla?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion is approved 5-0. Item 5 is discussion and possible action on Arizona Citizens Clean Elections Commission versus Fontes number CV-2025-064149 consolidated. As indicated on the agenda, the commission may vote to go into executive session, which is not open to the public, to receive legal advice or consult with its attorneys. Before we proceed, I'd like to see if any commissioners have questions or comments they would like addressed in open session. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I move to go into executive session for item number 5.
Thank you, Commissioner Werther. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we go into executive session. I will call the roll. Commissioner Werther,
Aye.
Commissioner Payton,
Aye.
Commissioner Crump,
Aye.
Commissioner Titla.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We will go into executive session.
All right.
Good morning. We're back in open session. Item 6 is discussion possible action on the 2026 voter education plan. Tom, do you want to set the stage, and then Gina has a presentation?
Yes, and I'll be very brief here before I turn it over to Gina. I think as you see this plan, one of the things we know is that Arizona elections are now unfold across a longer and longer calendar and in a much more fragmented information environment. And what that means is that voter education has to function as a civic infrastructure. So it has to be reliable and accessible, and it has to be built to last over the course of a longer period of time. I think the voter education plan that you're going to hear about, which will also highlight our successes in 2025, reflects the Commission's deliberate shift towards building voter capacity over time and not just focusing outreach around individual elections. And so I think this sets the framework for that work. So with that, if with your permission, Commissioner or Chairman, I'd like to just turn it over to Gina to walk through what we're implementing for the 2026 election.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I will go ahead and share my screen as I have slides for you. And it looks like you can see everything. Okay. Okay, well, good morning, as Tom mentioned. We'll start off with a little bit of recap from our efforts from 2025. The slides that I have for you are in no way reflective of everything that we've done. We'd be here for much longer if we did that, but we do want to highlight a few of our efforts. So we'll jump into what we experienced in 2025 for elections. We had 6 elections, and 2 of them were special elections due to the vacancy created in Congress by the passing of Congressman Raul Grijalva. And then we had our standard 4 elections that occur every single year. So this is a good reminder that elections happen all the time, very local in our own backyard. And it was a very busy year. So including with the special elections, that did prompt debates as well for us. So we'll give you a little bit of background on what those elections entailed. In terms of our success, I have some key performance measures here that I wanted to share with you. So all in all, we had 5 paid media campaigns. Now I know we had 6 elections, but I'm referring to the CD7 special election as one. And we were really very impressed with our performance here. And this in part, and you'll see this throughout the presentation, our partnerships are very important. So as we work with our partner, Reister, we have X amount of dollars that we are able to execute for our efforts to reach, again, every voter across the state, not just, those in local Maricopa County. We're going to all the 4 corners. And so the financial resources that come into play there, we have to really be smart with the public dollars that we are spending here and really get the best bang for our buck. So again, very happy with the performance of these paid media campaigns. Of those 5, you can see here we had over 89 million impressions, which basically means we how many times our content was presented to someone in the state. Of our organic social media, which was fantastic, so basically non-paid here, we had 216,000 impressions and 2.2 million engagements. So 2.2 million times people engaged with our content on social. In terms of editorial, so maybe that is, an opinion piece that a staff member or a commission member wrote, but basically our own content that we were producing. We had 99 articles that linked back to Clean Elections directly, and we had 284 placements. And so some of the numbers here, they're very, high-reaching here, but because of those placements and the coverage that we received on our editorial pieces, that resulted in 2.2 billion total audience. And what that means is all of those entities that either linked back to Clean Elections or shared our content, that was the broadest audience that we could reach there. So again, the editorial efforts were very successful in helping to get our information out there. Our podcast, which is in its infancy still, we launched it last year. We had 19 episodes that we recorded with, we had 1.3, oh, that should be 1,000 downloads, and our consumption rate, which I think is a very important metric here. The consumption rate, how long did people listen to our episodes, which are about 10 minutes in length? We had a 76% average consumption rate, and that's really great. That's above industry standard there. So it shows that people are interested in the content that we're putting out on the podcast. They're taking the time to listen to it. And then we have our content management, so our CRM here. This means basically our newsletter, our content that we are writing in-house, that we are sending out. We had over 300,000 emails that were sent, and we have on our subscription list, we have over 16,000 email subscribers, and that is continuing to grow month by month that we're keeping track of. And then SMS, which is our text messaging service, this is very new as well too. We had 32,000 texts that were sent, and we have almost, well, 3,518 subscribers. So that is still very new, and we're growing that as well. So we're very excited with the performance of each one of these tactics, because again, it showcases that our content is effective, it's engaging, and we are being very smart with our financial resources. So to give you an idea of how we reached voters with all of our content through paid media, these are the digital channel, or excuse me, these are some of the paid media channels that we utilized. This is, we were on, so over the top, like Netflix, things like that, your streaming services. We were on social media. Search is something that I will highlight in a few slides later, but it is very successful for us. And what I mean by that is when somebody opens up a search engine like Google, and it ultimately gets them to our content. And we had digital display ads, and then we had print ads. So we were in the newspaper, we had radio reads, and out of home, such as billboards. So we used a variety of paid media tactics to reach voters across the state. So what did these elections look like? We had our local elections in March and May. And so for March, we had a City of Tucson election, which was ballot by mail. And you typically see that type of election, ballot by mail, where every registered voter is automatically mailed, or excuse me, every eligible voter is automatically mailed a ballot. We typically see those in those local elections. And just some key metrics here from our website for that particular election. We had about 117,000 visitors to our website for election information on that Tucson race. In May, there were Glendale, Goodyear, and Colorado City ballot by mail elections. Again, you'll see a range of what's on the ballot, ranging from council elections to charter zoning amendments to school board elections as we go through these. So again, it's very important that we keep up our outreach during odd years. There really is no such thing as, oh, it's not an election year. That just doesn't exist. I know some folks still have that thought, that perception that elections only happen every 2 years and it's only the primary and general, or it's only presidential and midterm. But the reality is there's elections happening pretty much all the time, every year, and they're very real, important matters that impact voters directly. For this May local election, we had 132,000 visitors on our website. And then we jump into our special primary election, and we had it looks like six counties that were participating in that election, and we had 131,000 views. And then we get into our August, which is, we'll think of as our primary election, right, for 2025. We had Tucson, Santan Valley, Prescott, several elections going on. And again, everything ranging from a recall election to propositions to council seats. And we had about 56,000 views on that from our website. Then we jump into the CD7 special general election. We had 110,000 views on our website. And then finally, we capped the year off with the November locals, which there were multiple counties, most of the counties across the state had elections, and there were a lot of elections related to schools. So whether that was school boards, bonds and overrides, things like that. We had a lot of activity going on throughout for the November 4th locals. And again, you can see all the counties listed here, the elementary school districts. And one of the things that I will pause here and note for this particular election that we see, again, with all of these school-related items, we are the only entity in the state of Arizona that you can go to this single website to find this information. And that's a big shout out to Alec for having all of his well-established contacts to get this accurate election information and post it timely for us. So this is a very key service that our website provides during these school district elections. And then we had 228,000 views on our website. So for the year of 2025, we had 852,000 views. And the key event count is a great performance indicator as well. So what that means, it means that we had people take some sort of action when they were on our site 2.7 million times. So that could be, clicking our register to vote button. It could be downloading our civics curriculum. They are taking an action on the website 2.7 million times all throughout 2025. And that heat map, it indicates our presence throughout the state. And we're very excited about this because it showcases, again, our efforts to not just reach the Phoenix metro area. We have a very strong presence in rural areas, and we're going to continue to do that. But this is also an indicator of why we don't rely solely on digital outreach efforts, because we know in some of our rural areas that could be difficult with broadband access. So as we talk about our 2026 voter education plan, we have a multitude of tactics to reach voters that, again, we're not relying just on digital and online efforts. A few things to talk about, again, that we wanted to share with the website. So organic search, again, voter pulls up Google. They are on their own typing in clean elections or primary election, things like that. And that is one of the biggest drivers to our website. So for 2025, about 265,000 users were sent to our website based off organic search alone. So not us prompting them or anything, them doing it on their own. And what that means is a few things. One, it's great for brand recognition that people are turning to and recognize clean elections. They remember and recall clean elections when they're going to do their search for election information. But also it showcases that our web content is structured and optimized in such a way that search engines are trusting our content as well, enough that they are putting it in those top search queries. So again, it's another shout out to Alec and making sure that the behind the scenes efforts of our website, such as our meta tags and our site structure, it all works really well for Google and other search engines. So the website is being highlighted to voters based off of search that way as well. A few things that we wanted to share with the top pages for the year. So when people come to the Clean Elections website, what pages are they most interested in? I personally thought this was really interesting that one of the top pages has to do with the president's cabinet. So we have on our pages all of the different cabinets that the president of the United States oversees and his appointments. And that was really interesting to voters in 2025. So again, that's part of our just how government works section and explaining the different branches and levels of government. Again, civics education. So that was very popular in 2025. The second highest page is the People's Ledger. And I have some slides dedicated to that, but I just wanted to highlight that right now, and I'll explain why that's important in a few slides. But the People's Ledger was number 2, which is very exciting. And then we get into our election pages. So it showcases that people are coming to Clean Elections not just for logistical information on voting, but really looking at the whole civic life that voting is a part of. So we had new pages in 2025 that we launched. The first page is the Beyond the Ballot AZ, which is our podcast. So we have our page where folks can go directly to our website and they can stream the podcast episodes directly on our website. Of course, the podcast is also available any other place that you can get your podcasts, like Spotify or Apple. And then here's the People's Ledger. So the People's Ledger, again, is brand new, and it's we know what a ledger is. It's usually a book or a collection of information. And so for our purposes, we thought, you know what, we'll create this content that we are producing in-house, and we'll talk about policy issues or ways to stay engaged. So an example of some of the content that we've produced are Democracy in Motion. What happens when no one is voting? Or we did a People's Ledger on debunking election myths, a spotlight on voting rights, Arizona's election history, a legacy of civic engagement. So folks are really showing an interest in this content that we're developing. And then finally here, I'll talk about the content that we have on our website, and just it's a wealth of information. So I talked about the school board elections and how the Clean Elections website is the only site in the state of Arizona, well, really, I guess in the country, that you can go to get all of that information about school board elections. And so what this means is our website has a wealth of information related to voting that we are putting into our voter dashboard. And this also includes the propositions. So for that November local election, there were several propositions on the ballot. Again, bonds, maintenance and override elections, recalls, other propositions, charter amendments. We had every single one of those propositions listed on our website that voters could access. So again, it's a wealth of information in one location. And again, another shout out to Alec here, because, you know, this is the Clean Elections website, but we know that there are other entities out there, other websites that people go to, such as Ballotpedia is something that is a website that has a lot of folks know about. Ballotpedia emails us saying, hey, when can we get your information? So it's really great to showcase that our website is really the original source of this content. So when we're working on our website, again, data and metrics and performance, that is very important in how we are executing the functions of the voter education plan. And so the things that we look at to make sure the website is meeting the needs of Arizona voters are, we are looking at the usability of the site. Again, the structure and organization of the content. How long does it take for a page to load when somebody's using it, whether on desktop or mobile? You know, is it friendly? What's the bounce rate from certain sites? The search effectiveness. So if you go to Clean Elections and you click the little magnifying glass, how great are we returning results? Accessibility, is it working well with screen readers? You know, what is the contrast of our font? Looking at site traffic and our conversion rates. So all of this is what we are doing on the back end to provide a better experience for voters. So that covers our website performance and the 6 elections that we had this year. Now, as I mentioned, we don't rely solely on online and digital outreach efforts. So with that comes our sort of boots on the ground. And we've got some information here that we wanted to highlight. Again, does not come close to representing all of the areas that we were at in 2025, but it's a few things that we wanted to highlight. Of course, we have Captain Activate here, but we partnered with all of our counties and local election officials across the state, and we had really great engagement and outreach efforts, whether that's going to county fairs or going to libraries or schools. We definitely had a presence across the entire state of Arizona. Some great numbers for our Captain Activate series. We shipped over 3,000 copies. And, you know, the people who are reaching out to us and saying, hey, can we get copies of Captain Activate? There's schools, there are parents, there are election officials, they are people, you know, libraries. We've had people request some comics from out of state, from out of country. It's really you know, you can't specify. It's not the comic is just for kids. We are seeing a variety of folks who are interested in it for a multitude of reasons. And so with that being out there in the community, it's a great resource for us to be able to connect with voters and start talking to them about being engaged. So we found the comic to be very successful. And really, ultimately, it's part of that encouraging that civic life. Here's some photos of, again, boots on the ground, being out there in the community, engaging with voters face to face and having a presence. So again, Captain Activate, our civic mascot, is great outreach to our families and to our future voters. He was at a lot of events last year that included Fan Fusion here in Phoenix, which is a very large event. And we have a great opportunity to connect with thousands of voters at a single location. Captain Activate was at the Tucson Book Festival and also Youth Day at the Capitol. And it's really great too, because we're seeing our election partners across our 15 counties contact Avery and be like, hey, can we get Captain Activate out here? Because we're having an open house, or there's a public safety day, things like that. A few things that we wanted to highlight as well for our outreach. Avery has launched a voter outreach working group that he has several members of our 15 counties participate in. And basically they get together, they discuss, okay, what events do we have coming up? What are some voter education issues that we're seeing? Or, can we collaborate together on these things? And then of course, there's been presentations. So a multitude of events across the year where Clean Election staff is going out and presenting on clean elections, talking about the voting process, talking about media literacy and civil discourse, how to run for office. So our office and our staff are very much out there in the community being looked to as folks who are knowledgeable about these issues and being asked to present. And so again, these are just some photos of where we were able to be out. One of the photos I wanted to highlight in particular, the one on the right, I know Tom during the ED report mentioned an event where we were at the Cardinal Stadium last week, but this is another event that we were also at the Cardinal Stadium at a few months ago. And this is where Tolleson School District brought together a career day for all of their school districts and bussed in hundreds of students to come. And so our booth is surrounded by businesses, right? Things like, hey, you can have a career in this. And it was really great that they reached out to Clean Elections and asked us to participate, because we could talk to them about, do you want to have a career as election official? Or maybe just serve as a poll worker. And then, of course, that lends the opportunity of talking about voting and civic engagement as well. So we talked about the website, we talked about boots on the ground. The other component that was very successful for us in 2025 was our content production. So we had our Inside the Issues of events. We held two in 2025. The first one was about education. And then in December, we had another one about healthcare. The one about education, we partnered with ABC 15 and held it at their studios. And healthcare, we partnered with Telemundo, and it was entirely in Spanish. And so the thought process behind this is bringing information to voters about the top policy issues that they've told us about in our research that they care about. The Inside the Issues, I've got a lot of data here showcasing just how many news outlets picked up and carried this production. This is specific to our education one. And so you can see all of the news stations that aired it. We had ABC 15, Arizona 61, Arizona PBS, KVOA, KOLD, AZPM, Cox, Fox 10, KTAR, a multitude of news outlets picked up this content to show it to their audiences. So it was really great to reach voters across the state. And I've got a little clip here for you.
The innovation in Arizona's education system is amazing, and the more you can learn from that, I think the better the system will be. My name is Jake Logan. I'm the CEO of the Arizona Charter Schools Association, which is an organization that helps support Arizona's charter schools. And it is so exciting to see students and teachers and principals and support staff all working together for one goal. How do we get the best education for our students? And we really want people to get involved, whether you're a parent, whether you're a taxpayer, whether you're someone who's just interested in public policy and education. So while there's differences in strategies and public policy that affects education, at the end of the day, it's a passionate issue that I think every Arizonan and American should care about.
So for these Inside the Issues events, one of the benefits of it is in addition to bringing this information to voters about these top policy issues, we're also engaging the business community. So that's really important because we do a lot of outreach with our civic partners who are naturally interested in elections, working with our teachers and our educators on civic engagement, working with voters with disabilities, things like that. But when we are doing these specific issues like this education, we had top education minds in the state come together to talk about this particular issue. And then when we did healthcare, same thing. We had the top leaders in the healthcare industry. So we are bringing together the business industry and getting them to put their buy-in and their support for civic engagement and for learning about voting and being an informed voter. So that's another benefit to these Inside the Issues tables. The CD7 special election, which was unexpected, but it prompted the need for debate. So we were very pleased with the success of our CD7 debates for both the primary and the general elections. I've got some data points here that showcase the results, ranging from 100% participation from the candidates that were invited to participate, to how many television stations carried the debate, to how many hours it resulted in live stream. We even take a look at how does having this debate impact the traffic on our website, which you can see there is a 258% increase in new users from the time period during the CD7 election in our debate. So we, again, really try to make sure that we are capturing all data points possible to, one, help us determine are our efforts being successful, but also so we can learn from it. We can learn about behavior from voters and how they're engaging with our content. So again, we were very pleased with the results from our CD7 debates that we had. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I can pause if there's any questions on our activities for 2025 before I jump into our 2026 plan, if you'd like.
Any questions or comments on the 2025 plan, what you did last year? Gina, it's a very impressive package of ways that you are looking to inform and educate voters and get them involved. It's just astounding all that you have accomplished with Alec and Avery and Captain Activate and everyone else on the staff. Very impressive. Anyone else on the commission want to make any comments before we look at what we're going to do this year?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Werther?
Just also very impressive, and thank you so much. I know how much work goes into all of this. And also, I just wanted to give a shout out to the billboards because I do actually drive around the state for work, and I've seen them on the very rural highways out there, and it's really always great to see. So I think that is a great way to engage voters who maybe aren't looking at the digital method of delivery. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Werther. Any other commissioners wish to make any comments?
Yeah, Chairman, this is Steve Titla. Good morning,
Yes.
Gina.
Good morning, Commissioner Tidla.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm impressed with all the work that has been done by Gina and the rest of the team there for clean elections. Implementation in the state, as you know, we have a mandate from the clean elections, which is citizen initiated. And so, as I keep saying, we need to reach out into the four corners of the state, which includes 22 tribes in the state. And I think that it would be a good idea to reach out to tribes specifically, to all 22 tribes, because they are a significant part of the population as far as voting is concerned. So I know that the tribes have annual celebrations. And San Carlos, that's where I'm from, San Carlos Apache, they have an annual Veterans Day event, activities. They have parades, they have rodeos, they have concerts, they have games, they have powwows. And I think thousands of people congregate over there from all areas of the state and from out of state also. So I think that would be a good site to have information available to those voters. And then I know that Navajos have a big Navajo fair up there. I don't know the dates of it. And then down in Sells, the Tohono O'odham, they have a big celebration coming up here, I think the first weekend in February, down in Sells, where they have a big festivities, rodeos and powwows and everything else. So I think it'll be a good idea if we could devote some time to them so that they can know about clean elections and all the good work that's being done here. What we have done in the past, Tom and I were on radio over there at San Carlos Apache, and they call it KYAY 91.1 FM. Tom was a good radio person. He has a good voice for radio. So we were able to appear on radio, and I think those kind of things to reach the tribes also is very important. Thank you, Gina. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Titla. Any other commissioners wish to make comments on the 2025 report? Okay, Gina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if I may, Commissioner Titla, thank you so much for the direction that you always provide and the leadership for the outreach to our 22 tribes. That is absolutely something that we dedicate our efforts and resources to. And I apologize that I didn't have much on that in this presentation for our recap. Just to briefly touch on that of what we did do in 2025, many of the events that you had noted, those were events that we did have participation in. Avery's very good about traveling around the state, and you'll see in the 2026 plan, we do have some of those on our calendar already. A few things I wanted to highlight. There was a conference put together by the Intertribal Council of Arizona where they brought together election officials across the state and talked about voter education and outreach for tribal members. And we had the opportunity to attend that and to present on it. And it was very great because we hear from ITCA about how they look to us as leaders for voter education for the tribes and how they're constantly using our content that we put out there. So that was really great to hear. The other opportunity that we have for the past several years now, when the Secretary of State's office does their election officer certification training, we are invited to train the new election officials on outreach efforts specifically for our Native American communities. And so it's really great that we are looked at as leaders for that as well, and that we place such a high importance on it. There are also several events that, again, that we attend, and I'm very happy to showcase to you in our 2026 plans. You'll see some of those as well. And I also completely agree that Tom has a great radio voice, which is why we have him on the podcast. So for 2026, this is just to give you an idea of the landscape that we're looking at with our voter registration numbers. We've got about 4.3 million registered voters. And again, it's you can take a look at the other line. Those are going to be our unaffiliated independent voters, which make up a very big portion of our electorate. So we have to be mindful of that because, when you are unaffiliated, when you're an independent, the rules can change for you on how to participate in the elections. So we are very mindful of our voter registration makeup. And what we were looking forward to in 2026 are 4 elections. We do have a March 10th local election coming up. That's going to be the city of Tempe and Pima County. Then we look to May. Right now, what we're aware of is Coconino County and the town of Mammoth, and possibly more elections that will be happening. We're still doing our outreach. We do have our primary election, which as of right now, it is scheduled for August 4th. However, there is a strong likelihood that that date will change and be bumped up a week. We had the same thing occur in 2024 where the primary election date was changed. However, then it was only done temporarily via session law. There is a bill in the legislature now to make this change permanent, and it just really has to do with calendaring and making sure that election officials have enough time that they need to perform their task in between the primary and general election. So once we get confirmation on what that, it will likely be July 28th is the date that it will be. But what we're looking at on the ballot are, of course, our congressional seats, all of our statewide executive offices, our legislative offices, and local offices. And as Tom mentioned earlier in the ED report, this is going to be the first time in over 10 years where we do not have a U.S. Senate seat on the ballot. And that's going to be important for a number of reasons, as you'll see when we go through these slides. And then we jump into our general election. So again, we'll have all of those candidate races back on the ballot. In addition, we will also have lieutenant governor, which is a brand new seat. So the gubernatorial candidates, the nominees, they will need to announce who their running mates are, and they will appear on a joint ticket together. So very similar to how our president and vice president run, but this is a new office for Arizona voters and what they'll see. So we will be including that office in our debate process, but also just providing some information on what that office is responsible for doing. And then, of course, we have our judicial retention elections, judges and justices, the ballot measures, and then, of course, local offices and races. So it's going to be a very busy year for voters. So how do we prepare and how do we create our 2026 voter education plans? As hopefully it was demonstrated in the recap, we rely very much on talking to voters directly and research. We want to make informed decisions. That way we know we can be the most effective with our dollars and our time and energy and how we are communicating with voters. So a few highlights from the research that we have done. So after the 2024 election, so in quarter four of 2024, we put out a survey to talk to voters. And then in 2025, we held focus groups. So these are some highlights from that research. I do have a slide here on election security because that's just been top of mind for the past several years. So we just wanted to talk to voters and say, hey, how confident are you or were you in the accuracy of the results of the 2024 election? So it's really great to see that some folks were extremely confident. You could see 61% there, and we have it broken down by party. And so that's good news for us. It shows that people are having trust in the system. Then one of the things we talked to voters about, how much time do you spend researching the candidates and the issues? And this is important too, because, obviously we put out our voter education guide. Are people taking the time to read that entire guide? When the Secretary of State's office puts out their very thick publicity pamphlet, are people reading that? How much time are they spending online? We just want to know, how long are we having the attention span of voters? What's the priority that people are placing on it? So we know how to best provide and deliver content to them. So you can see here, how many hours did you spend researching it? It looks like the top is a range between 1 to 5 hours. And so you can see the difference throughout the years as well. And that seems about average for most voters. And then we asked them, okay, well, you're spending time researching, but where are you getting your information? And so the two different colors here, we have it broken down between our general population and then specifically our youth. So 16 to 24-year-olds, but we know it's 18 that are voting. So very happy to see that the voter education guide and debates are ranked very highly, that people are looking to for their information when they're voting. And then we also asked them, well, when you're researching and you're looking for your sources, what do you consider an unbiased source? Again, very happy to see that the voter education guide is ranked one of the highest sources for unbiased information. And this has been something that is consistent year over year when we are having our focus groups and our surveys that we put out there. The voter education guide is people are looking forward to. And then we asked them about our website. Okay, if you visited azcleanelections.gov, what was your experience? Did you find what you were looking for? And 92% of folks said yes, which is great news. And then we asked them, how can we be better? And it's really great that 45%, which is the top result, said nothing. There's nothing you can do to be better, but we always know we can improve. And so 28% did reflect on the design and navigation, which prompted us to invest further in a UX design study research, which we completed at the end of 2025. And I'll talk about that momentarily. But it was really great to see that we had great feedback from voters when they were visiting our site. And then one other thing that I wanted to share too on our research was about democracy. We just wanted to, again, learn about the sentiment, how voters are feeling. And so we asked them, what's the first word or phrase that comes to your mind when you hear the word democracy? This is just a small snapshot of the list, but it was, you can see here that one of the top responses had a 37% where folks said, what comes to mind? Freedom, free, liberty, independence, sovereignty, and sovereign. And so most of the responses overall were positive when people, think of the word democracy. About 13% came in neutral and about 5% had a negative reaction to that term. So during our research, we also wanted to know about user experience with our voter guide. And so we put them through a practice where we said, if you're going to build your own voter guide, what would it be like? And so this is some of the feedback that voters gave us. The great news is that we already do most of this. And then the things that we aren't doing, we are looking at implementing, and hopefully it should be fairly easy to implement. So for example, on the candidate information side, folks were very interested in the voting history of incumbents. So that's something that we think that we can update and link to in our dashboard. But again, very, very great to hear to see that what people are reporting of what they want in a voter guide, we are for the most part doing. And then finally, I wanted to give you some information on just who are the voters right now? What are some general descriptions of voters, a snapshot? So when we think about voters as a whole from our population across the state, participants expressed worry about the economy and changes to the political system, but they're hopeful. So that's really great that they have that hope. And then those bullets are just some action points of what they've done. So you can see, tighten their budget or stayed away from overly political situations and conversations. On independent voters, they showcased that they have some worry about the future, what the government looks like, and that they are happy to see changes of any kind. And so as a result, their activities, they've adjusted their spending habits. They are spending more time indoors in their home, and they focus on politically educating their kids. Our youth, they have pretty high feelings of anxiety and little hope about the current state of affairs. And so what that results in their action is they're trying to save more money, they're increasing their political research, they're kind of sort of censoring themselves in a way, concealing part of their identity and monitoring what they say. So this is, again, based off of the research that we've done. We also have some secondary research, but this just gives us an idea of who the voters are, and that helps us understand how to communicate with them. So in 2026, the expected media landscape across the country, I wanted to share this with you. Ad Impact puts out this report for every election cycle, and they put out estimates of how much money they think will be spent across each state for political advertising. And Arizona, the expectation is that $332 million will be spent. So why do I share that? That's important because when we are going to be out there in market and paid media, so are a lot of other people. There's going to be candidates with their campaign messaging, political, committees out there pushing messaging. And so again, it just gives us awareness about the environment that voters are in. They have lots of political messaging coming at them. And so how can we kind of filter through that? How do we essentially compete with all of the other candidate messaging that has a very political tone to it and is saying, vote for me or vote yes or no? How does Clean Elections, as a nonpartisan, unbiased entity, break through that to voters and say, hey, we just want to give you the facts so you can vote informed and we want you to participate? So that's something that we keep in mind, is what is the media landscape looking at? 332 million, it is lower than 2024, but again, as Tom noted, there's not a US Senate race on the ballot, which typically brings in a lot of paid media activity. So with that sort of foundation and that information, what are we planning to do? We know that our messaging is going to be pretty straightforward. We will always speak to the logistics of voting. So we're always going to educate about how to get registered to vote, how the early voting process works, how to cast your ballot. We will continue to educate on election security. Here's how you can track your ballot to ensure it was counted. If you want to participate in a logic and accuracy testing, this is how you can do it. This is how you can have confidence in the accuracy of the vote count. We will, of course, educate independent voters. As I mentioned, they're a high part of our electorate, and the rules can change. If from primary to general election, they need to understand how to participate, that they can vote in a primary and how that process works. Again, procedurally, what happens when you register to vote and your options for your selecting. If you get a notice in the mail from the county, and you're on the early voting list, what actions do you have to take to get your primary ballot, things like that. We will also do messaging to our voters with disabilities and explain what options are available to them, whether it's curbside voting or resources that they have on how to use the accessible voting equipment. And then, of course, we'll do our civic education and media literacy for our future voters, and again, to really help create that healthy civic life. All of that ends up with us developing our campaign for 2026, which is Vote with Intention. So what this means is there are some things in life that everybody chooses with great care. Your partner in life, your job, your friends, but even the smaller things such as, what phone case you're going to get, your coffee order, how you're curating your playlist. People spend time and effort on that. So voting should be one of those things to make your vote yours. So as I talked about what that estimated paid media spend is going to be in Arizona and how do we cut through all of that political advertising, we wanted to be relatable and do that with a touch of humor and really showcase that you need to be intentional with your choices, and we can provide you that factual information so that you can be an informed voter. So with that, I'd like to show you 2 of our TV spots that we've created for 2026.
All right, Melissa, you ready to choose your husband? Who's it gonna be?
Bachelor number 3.
Number 3 it is! All right, let's meet the other 2 fellas. Come on out, Bachelor number 1. All right, Bachelor number 2, come on out. Ready to meet your future husband? Bachelor number 3, come on out. He's an avid supermarket coupon collector and TV dinner enthusiast, Oscar.
Don't leave big decisions to chance. Visit azcleanelections.gov and make your vote yours.
Molly, is it? Mm-hmm. All right. Today's the day we're going to pick your career.
Great. Wait, this is how we're gonna pick?
Uh-huh.
Deep sea diver? I can't swim.
They'll toss you in.
Don't leave big decisions to chance. Visit azcleanelections.gov and make your vote yours.
So why did we go that route with those commercials, those TV spots? Again, we have to be mindful of our resources, and paid media is expensive. So how can we be most effective with our spots? How can we cut through that standard political advertising that voters are being inundated with? How can we be relatable to them, a touch of humor, and then ultimately, how can they have that brand recognition? So if they see our spot on TV, then later on when they're at their computers or on their phone and it's time to vote, oh yeah, I remembered I saw that, I'm going to go to azcleanelections.gov. So we know that when we have our commercials in market like this, there's a direct increase into our website traffic. Again, we're tracking every metric that we can. And so it's important that we are out there, and these spots are running. What you just saw was 30 seconds. So when we are placing our media buys, again, being financially responsible with the resources that we have, we're placing spots. We have these in 15-second spots and 30-second spots. So to educate 15 and 30 seconds, there's really not a lot of opportunity there. And again, we're trying to cut through all of the messaging that voters may even be getting tired of hearing from during the election cycle. So we have found success that when our spots are more on the humorous side and relatable, that we really get to see, 1, that brand recognition from voters, and 2, we see those higher metrics in the performance of our websites. So we know that they're working. So again, going along with the theme that we developed based off of our research, Vote with Intention, those are going to be our 2 primary video spots, and we'll have other creative media that follows along with that theme. So where are voters at? Where are they consuming their media? We've got a chart here that breaks it down between our young adults and even rural communities, our Spanish-speaking voters, our Native American communities, and how are they accessing information. And so this gives us where the voters are at. So this is where we're going to be at. Where are our media placements going to be for clean elections? We're going to be on TV. We're going to be on streaming. So, if you don't have cable or TV, your streaming channels that you use. We'll have radio reads, print, again, out of home. So those billboards will be on social media. We'll have our ads that we push out. And again, search is very important for us. So we will use these different platforms to reach voters. This is just a quick pie chart to show you the breakdown. Again, we try to have a variety of tactics that we use, never just focusing on one. And again, that is proven to give us the success that we want to see in our performance measures. So our messaging channels that we have in addition to paid media. We've got our newsletter. We have our text messaging system. We've got our podcast, The People's Ledger. Of course, we have our own social media and the paid media that we're going to be utilizing. And then we also are working very strongly with PR, public relations and community outreach, working with our news members and our journalists across the state to get coverage on elections and the efforts that Clean Elections is doing. And then, of course, our website. So with our website, our plans to improve that and make a better experience for voters in 2026 are we're going to be providing new content and refreshing our content so that we are making sure that we are meeting the needs of voters. As I mentioned, we went through a user experience, a user design testing to see, okay, how are people engaging with a site? Where are they looking to for information? What pages are they researching on? And the timing that it takes as well. And we're going to be optimizing the site that way. We're also going to be expanding our voter dashboard capabilities. We have more data available to us from the Secretary of State's office, where we are now going to be able to provide a voter registration lookup, full district mapping capabilities. So if somebody comes to our site, we're going to be able to tell them every single district that they live in. And if we can do that, we can then tell them every single candidate that's running in their district. And of course, making updates to our candidate profiles. And then we have a lot of updates that we need to make to our back-end system as well. We will continue with content development. So we're planning to have more Inside the Issues events throughout the year. Those will again be anywhere from 60 to 120-minute panel discussions with those subject matter experts. We will continue to partner with the Arizona Media Association. We'll have our Spanish town halls, and we will continue to produce podcast episodes for Beyond the Ballot AZ. Now our debates, 2026 debates, we have been working on these throughout all of 2025 in preparation of this year. Based off of the election schedule, the majority of our debates will be held in June and September. We are continuing our partnership with AMA, which is fantastic because we know that it helps us really produce this white label content and get it out to voters across the state. In addition to our partnership with the Arizona Media Association, we are also partnering with Arizona Agenda for our non-broadcast debates. We had a lot of great success with our televised debates in 2024. We really want to bring that same success to our legislative and local debates that we're doing. So we have this partnership with Arizona Agenda to really kind of mimic what we're doing with the AMA and create this white label content for these debates to push out to our partners. We're going to be revising how we're engaging and inviting candidates to participate and really showcasing this is the debate that you want to participate in, why it's important for candidates to show up and communicate with voters. We're going to be refreshing our format and our run of show, and Arizona Agenda will be moderating the majority of our debates as well. And then we'll be utilizing their existing network to reach voters across the state. And then we are going to be putting out surveys prior to each election so we can ask voters again, what are the issues that you care about? This will help shape our discussion and what questions the moderators come up for the candidates. And so you can see we've got a full debate lineup, everything, our congressional races, and again, governor, lieutenant governor, all the way down to local races. Our voter education guide, we will be putting that out again this year, and we'll have all of those statewide offices in there. And what will be new is we will now be including county candidates. So county-wide candidates. So that's going to be the county executive offices, such as, county recorder, county sheriff, county attorney, those county-wide offices, as well as board of supervisor candidates. So by district. So what that means for what's on the ballot and the schedule of these races in 2026, when our voter guides go out, they will have all of these statewide executive offices. They're going to have, there's a few county-wide offices like county recorder, and then there's a very small amount of board of supervisor district candidates that will be on in 2026. In 2028 is their election schedule with their terms, where we will see a lot of county candidates on the ballot, which means they'll be on our voter guide. So this is a new legislative mandate We've been working on updating our system to be able to accommodate this change. We've been working with our vendors, and we will again continue to make sure that our voter guide is looked at and is meaningful to voters, so it has the information they need and continues to be a trusted source for them. For our outreach, this is a very small snapshot of some things that we have coming up. Some of the events that Commissioner Titla mentioned, such as the Autumn Rodeo that's coming up in February, that will be on there. We are also going to be partnering with the Navajo Voters Coalition for a conference in June, and a multitude of events. But again, this is certainly not all encompassing. And of course, we'll be at Fan Fusion as well. And one of the I'm very excited about an initiative that we're undertaking is the Arizona's Native Vote Collection. What we'd like to do is partner with our tribes and do this original outreach activation to celebrate civic engagement and the Native American culture and inspire and encourage people to vote in these midterm elections. And the idea is to essentially create original vote art from our tribes, from our 22 tribes, and feature it on a one-of-kind Clean Elections materials. So whether that's some of the swag that we take with us, putting it on our website and our social media, really at the end of the day is we want to honor and celebrate and inspire our tribal communities to participate in state elections.
The year is 2039. The future voters are now elected leaders and candidates shaping Arizona's local elections, but democracy is under attack by Uncivilia, a powerful new villain who thrives on division and the breakdown of civil discourse. With Captain Activate missing, Uncivilia teams up with Dr. Apathy and Bad Infotron to unleash a storm of chaos designed to silence voters and weaken local engagement. As turnout drops and communities fracture, the future voters must find a way to stand together, rise as leaders, and remind their communities why local elections matter. The fate of civic dialogue and democracy itself hangs in the balance. Find out in Captain Activate and the Future Voters, issue number 3. Coming soon.
We plan to unveil issue 3 at Phoenix Fan Fusion this summer. Avery is hard at work and has almost finalized the draft of issue 3. Again, our comic corresponds to the civic curriculum that we have developed for 4th through 6th, 7th through 8th, and 9th through 12th. Issue 3 will really focus on our 9th through 12th graders. And we're very excited to continue to develop the comic because it promotes that literacy skills, and it really encourages not only our future voters, but we're seeing great feedback from adults as well. And our civic partners absolutely love the comic. So we're very excited to continue with this in our voter education efforts. With that, I will apologize for taking so much time. I tried to go quickly, but we do have a lot of content here. And so I can stop sharing my screen and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions from the commission?
I have a comment.
Commissioner Payton?
I think that one of the governor candidates should get you to be the lieutenant governor on their ticket. You should be running the state.
Mr. Chairman,
That's all.
Chairman, Commissioner Payton, that is very, very kind. Thank you. And of course, I very much love working for Clean Elections. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from members of the commission?
Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Titla.
Yeah, Gina, thank you for all that information. That's very impressive. I'm excited about the election now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Titla. Anything else? If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion on the 2026 voter education plan.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the 2026 voter education plan.
Thank you, Commissioner Werther. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Payton. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2026 voter education plan. I will call the roll. Commissioner Werther?
Aye.
Commissioner Payton?
Aye.
Commissioner Crump?
Aye.
Commissioner Titla?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The plan is approved 5-0. Item 7 is public comment. This is the time for comments and suggestions from the public. Action taken as a result of public comment is limited by statute to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration. Do we have anyone in person or on Zoom who wishes to make a comment? No. Hearing no one, the public may also submit comments by email at ccec@azcleanelections.gov. Item 8, adjournment. If there's no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Werther. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Payton. It's been moved and seconded that we would adjourn. I will call the roll. Commissioner Werther,
Aye.
Commissioner Payton,
Aye.
Commissioner Crump,
Aye.